Welcome on this Throwback Thursday, QPTV Daily Social Live, QPTV.org Daily Live Show. I'm your host for today, James, in this evening program. It's quite an eventful day on the live end of QPTV. But before we get to that, let's give you a quick COVID-19 update. Again, appointments are open at your college for all eligible New Yorkers who live in Queens. You can confirm your eligibility and schedule an appointment today at the website you see on the screen, am-eligible.covid19vaccine.health.ny.gov.
QPTV Radio is on the air, providing community-centered programming from Queens Public Television in New York City. QPTV Radio offers an interesting and eclectic mix of unique content, from QPTV's original podcasts to audio versions of our award-winning television programs. Listen to QPTV Radio at qptv.org or download the Live 365 app on your mobile device, and you can listen to QPTV Radio on the go.
Last night, QPTV aired Queensborough President Donovan Richards' inaugural State of the Borough address. The borough president outlined his vision for Queens, and you can see it all here right now on qptv.org, right after this show, of course. But you can go QPTV to check it out. Let's show you a little preview.
Donovan Richards at the incredible Museum of the Moving Image.
At this arts institution housed in the city-owned building, visitors learn about film, video game, and television history. Museum of the Moving Images building is part of the historic Astoria Studios, opened by Paramount Pictures in 1920. It functions today as Kaufman Astoria Studios, right next door. The studio has played a role in the representation of American communities of color on screen, with productions like The Wiz and the groundbreaking children's series Sesame Street. Queens history is reflected in many of the artifacts on display. The first museum in the world to collect and present video games as an art form, MoMI provides unparalleled access to creative media making for all ages, backgrounds, and neurodiversities. We present over 500 films per year, welcoming 250,000 visitors annually to exhibitions and educational experiences.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. To kick off the program, you're in for a treat. Please join us for a presentation of the colors by the MTA Police Explorers and a performance of the national anthem by the Frank Sinatra School of the Arts.
as always. You can find us all over social media. Look for us on Facebook at Queens Public Television. YouTube, QPTV, Queens Public Television is the channel. One word. On Twitch, Queens Public Television. We're on LinkedIn under QPTV. Instagram at QPTV. And Twitter at QPTV. Link up with us. You could also send us your questions, comments to email media@qptv.org. qptv.org. And no matter where you are in the borough, if you have access to cable, you got QPTV. We're on Spectrum, RCN, Verizon Files. Look at the lineup, look at the channels. 1995 and 34 on Spectrum, 82 RCN, 34 on Fios. That's QPTV 1. QPTV 2, 1998 and 79 on Spectrum, 83 on RCN, 35 on Verizon Fios. And QPTV 4, 1997 on Spectrum, 85 on RCN, 37 on Verizon Files. We'll be right back. Queen's Conversations is a live talk show featuring QPTV's award-winning production and hosting team, Lucia Dragosh, Noran Omar, and John Collins, having discussions with a diverse spectrum of Queens residents and leaders. Every topic is incredibly relevant, and every discussion is enlightening. Today's episode featured Branka and Jason from the Queens Historical Society. This was very good. This was very entertaining, especially for me, someone who enjoys comparing the history with what we have today. So I'm excited to bring you a little clip. I'll show you a little preview of this show. We'll have this program up as a full episode soon on the website. The live stream is still there, so you can take a look, but we'll show you a clip now, and afterwards we'll play some of the within the show. You'll see, if you watch the whole show, there are a few events coming up from the Queens Historical Society, and we'll be displaying that on the screen for you after the clip as well. Let's take a look.
Called Kingsland Homestead, and we've presented various things, and our mission essentially is to document the constant changes in the Queens County and our wonderfully multicultural borough. And we offer programs, whether they are lectures, tours, film screenings. Now, that was in the before times, and the today times, during COVID, everything is virtual. So we're accessible for free for all of our audiences in Queens and beyond. And we explore the diversity of the borough through, again, exhibitions and various educational programs.
Great. Jason?
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Lucia. So I'm Jason Antos. I'm the president of the board of directors at Queens Historical Society. I've been studying the history of Queens now for about 20 years. I've, in that time, published about 7 books on the history of specific neighborhoods throughout the borough. And last year in the fall, I had the honor of being named board president of Queens Historical, who I have been dealing with for the majority of those 20 years, researching the amazing history of Queens. And currently, I had the further honor of co-curating a wonderful exhibit on the photographic career of Percy Loomis Spear and Frederick J. Weber, who we'll talk about a little bit later, and how they chronicled the development of Queens well over 100 years ago.
Great. John?
Oh, Jason, I have one thing to tell you. I started watching the video of your exhibition of the photographs, and I had to stop it halfway through because I had to become a member immediately. And I signed on and I joined the Historical Society. I thought it was a fascinating piece of work. I really enjoyed it. Where did you get all this information? What first interested you in this historical aspect of Queens?
I've lived here my entire life. I've been here 40 years. My family has lived here in Queens since 1961. And my family, excuse me, overall has lived in New York City since 1913. Growing up here in Whitestone as a kid in the 80s, there were many homes around the block where I live in the northern tip of Whitestone that were essentially abandoned. And these were the old homesteads and mansions of people who had lived here well over 100 years ago. And they were just there, in limbo. And, they were, very interesting to me. And as a kid growing up, I would just, try to research on what these places were, what these homes were. And one of the mansions that we used to sneak into, these abandoned properties that we used to sneak into, was the homestead, was the mansion of Arthur Hammerstein, the great Broadway composer.
Wow.
Songwriter. Today, his house is on the Register of Landmark, National Registry. It's also a city landmark, and now it's been renovated and restored into a private residency. Across the way from me here, literally across the street on the other side of Powell's Cove, was the home of the great Thurston, who was the predecessor to Houdini. He lived here as well. And I did a book report on his home when I was in PS 193 in the 6th grade. And I was just very fascinated from then on. And when I decided to go into writing professionally, I wanted to write nonfiction. So I tried to see if I could start something on the home front. And I began with the history of Whitestone. And it became very successful. And that's where it took on from there. And it's been almost a 20-year obsession. I've collected numerous photos, archival material in that time. And it's been quite the journey.
Sure has. Can you take us along on some of that journey today? Can
Sure.
you show us a few things?
Let's see. So I'll show you quick.
Mute that. You have to watch this episode. It's fascinating because I'll get into showing the pictures, the photographs, going over the history of famous locations, places you walk and drive through every day. It's really quite fascinating. So I'm going to have a lot of fun taking this show apart for the next week, cutting it up into clips to showcase here and everywhere else on the channel. That's going to be fun for me personally. So if you're into that kind of thing as well, this is why you must sign up for QPTV's newsletter. Go to qptv.org/newsletter to find out when these are coming up. You have to be on top of it. And if you were there, you could have asked a question. It's not too late now. Send them. The QPTV, Daily Social Live, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Subscribe, comment, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. Do the same. And email us, media@qptv.org. Before we go, let's take a look at those events that are coming up. About to take a look at one more thing before we head out.
Today, we celebrate the first African-American man to be elected to the office of Queensborough President, who brings us hope and is making a difference in the borough of Queens. Queensborough President Donovan Richards. A man has not held the seat since 1986, and you're following behind Claire Schulman, Helen Marshall, Melinda Katz, and acting Queensborough President Sharon Lee. How did you feel when you won, and when did you know you wanted a career in politics?
Oh, I had big hills to fill, is what I say. When we think about the four last dynamic woman who held this seat, and it's truly an honor to be here as the borough president, and as you alluded to, the first Black man to hold this seat, which if you told me coming up that I would ever ascend to becoming the borough president, I would have probably said you're out of your mind.